Islam, Islam. I will now call to the floor our National Assistant Grand Chief to open up the way according to law. It is my National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedwa Minty and Moheji Chef Suel. Unmuted.
Islam, can you hear me, sis?
Islam, Grandman, you're just a tad bit low.
Okay, give it a second and see if it come in a little better because I just unmuted. Is it rising up now?
Islam, it sounds great. Peace and love.
Okay, gratitude. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Want to rise upon the seven and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. But let us come forth with our ancient committee and adept Moorish American prayer. And as we come forth, we ask that you open up your hearts and minds as we open up the way. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Ya Allah abnu heru makuneteru. Ya Allah abhet heru. Ya Allah ma'at heru. Ya Allah hutep heru. Ya Allah heru. Ya Allah ma'at herakuti. Ya Allah ahwajet dejuti. Ya Allah pertim sutek pertim heru. Ya Allah bamaduti. Al-Hajjat Shepses Rab to Ali. Amin. Halias, Halias, Halias. And that is to say, Moorish kin in transliteration, O Allah, the Father of the universe, O Allah, the Father of love, O Allah, the Spirit of truth, O Allah, the Spirit of peace, O Allah, the Spirit of freedom, O Allah, the Spirit of justice, O Allah, you are my protector, O Allah, you are my guide, O Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day, O Allah, through your holy prophet, O Allah, Drew Ali. Amen. Holy Issa, Holy Issa, Holy Issa. Islam, Moorish kin. And now we come forth before you with the divine constitution of Moorish America, salvation, our God, unity, the seven supreme constitutional acts of law. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of Moorish America empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs, if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The bylaws. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh. And on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you're part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves, by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. And now that this meeting has been opened according to the triune acts, Acts 1, 2, and 3 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we say Islam, Islam, Islamism. The providence of Allah is ever all his works. He ruleth and directed with infinite wisdom. He had instituted laws for the government of the world. He had wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature conforming to his will. Shemo Tepu Moorish King. Peace and love.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Gratitude to our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedo Aminti and Moheji Shepsuel, for opening up the way according to law. I am the National Grand Secretary of the State of Indiana, Dr. Josiah Anatinu Heteru El, and I rise giving perfect praises to our Father God, Allah, and the highest honors to his Holy Prophet, El Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. Honors to our theocratic Moorish American government. Honors to all of Act 1. Honors to our Grand National Seal, our Grand National Emblem, and our Grand National Flag, the Moorish flag. Honors to our Royal Congress. Honors to our Secretaries. And honors to our Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Honors to all of you for being here in this Moorish Perspectives class. Islam, Islam, Islam. Chapter 50, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Master, and Servant. Repine not, O man, at the state of servitude. It is the appointment of Allah, and hath many advantages. It removeth thee from cares and solicitudes in life. The honor of a servant is his fidelity. His highest virtues are submission and obedience. Be patient, therefore, under the reproofs of thy master, and when he rebuketh thee, answer not again. The silence of thy resignation shall not be forgotten. Be studious of his interests, be diligent in his affairs, and faithful to the trust which he reposes in thee. Thy time and thy labors belong unto him. Defraud him not therefore, for he payeth thee for them. And thou who art a master, be just to thy servant if thou expectest him from him fidelity, and reasonable in thy commands, if thou expectest ready obedience. The spirit of a man is in him. Severity and vigor may create fear, but can never command love. Mix kindness with reproof, and reason with authority, So shall thy admonitions take place in his heart, and his duty shall become his pleasure. He shall serve thee faithfully from the motive of gratitude. He shall obey thee cheerfully from the principle of love, and fail thou not in return to give his diligence and fidelity their proper reward. Islam, Islam, Islam. Today is August 5th, 2023, and welcome to another Moorish Perspectives class sponsored by our Moorish American government. Our host instructor is our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedu Aminti and Mohaji Shepsuel. Our topic coming out of Chapter 50, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Master, and Servant, Ayat 6. And thou who art a master, be just to thy servant as thou expectest from him fidelity, and reasonable in thy commands as thou expectest ready obedience. Gratitude to our National Assistant Grand Chief for opening up the way according to law, and also gratitude to the National Grand Secretary of the State of Indiana, Dr. Sayonatinu Hetaru L., for taking registration and also reading the chapter of the week, Chapter 50. At this time, I'll call to the floor our host instructor, our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedu Aminti and Mohaji Shepsuel. Islam, Grand Man.
Islam, can you hear me, Goddess and Queen?
Clear the bell. Peace and love.
All right, gratitude. I just want to make sure, like I say, we've been having some bad weather down here between yesterday and today. And so if I go down, please don't, feel free to let me know that you can't hear me. So gratitude, Islam. Let us rise upon the seven and give all praises to the great God, Allah, Father God, Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything. And I do mean everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. I want to welcome you to another grand drawing in our Moorish Perspectives class. I want to give honors to all of our Moorish kin on the manifest, that are representing who they are in this new era and time. We give honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali for continuing to work from the soul plane to uplift us as fallen humanity. And this is a powerful measure to be able to come forth and demonstrate a Moorish perspectives. And I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Amohadi Shabazel. My ancient committee and high name being the same as Dr. Shedu Aminti El Muhajid Shepsuel. And we definitely have a powerful measure, Moorish kin, to be brought forth to the manifest. Want to give honors to all of you who are here uplifting fallen humanity, and all of those who are here to do the work, that they have been called to do by our Father God Allah. Each and every one of us have been given a task that we have been called to do. And this is the business that we have been called to be about when it comes to what our Father God Allah has placed, in his itinerary, so to speak. And so it's an honor just to be here in this new era and time, because we could have been anywhere. And so we want to give honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali for bringing all of these holy and divine instructions that he brought forth to us. The holy instruction dealing with the prophet as it relates to master and servant. And what we have found is that these instructions have a golden cord in relation to them, just like the one we'll go into after this, the next chapter and so forth and so on. We are seeing that the master and servant, just like the rich and the poor, when it comes to our perspective, are not different from each other, so to speak. Because the one, that was considered poor in their understanding, they end up coming into a state of wealth when they understand that true riches within. And so when we deal with the concept of master and servant, unbeknownst to many in the West, we've been taught again that the slave master, is somebody outside of us. And we found out, no, the true slave master is that mindset of that Eurocentric oppressor that is inside of us, and we've been moving according to that special dictation. And this is where Prophet Noble Drew Ali came to stop us from thinking like that European and getting us to think for ourselves. And if we believe and know that he is truly still working from the plane of soul, and yes, he is, this ain't no spookism. Our ancestors always taught this, that when we transcend, we still able to work from beyond the realm of the manifest. And that's why we say he's still working from the plane of soul, so that we may be able to demonstrate the proper action of our soul. What does the plane of soul consist of? But expressions of thought activity, the ability to think, will, reason, understand, and remember who made us. These are the 5 actions of the soul that are mentioned that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought back to us. So when you are thinking properly, we know man is thinker, because man is the thought of the great God made manifest. This ain't no new teaching. This is the same teaching that was taught in ancient Kemet. When our tomb rose from the darkness and the sacred mound, was revealed and the waters began to rescend, it states he was self-created. So from that special aspect, when we understand that, we know that we have the ability to also recreate ourselves, as opposed to somebody else saying they made us. You was made right here in the USA or the United States, like a label or a brand or something like that. No, when we ask the question, who made you, the great God Allah is who made us according to what we demonstrate. If we go back to Kemet, we say nature. We also use that term great God for those who don't understand either one of the names that we want to use to refer to the creator as, right? So I want to give honors to our beloved brothers as well that's on the manifest, showing up. We got our family from London, checking in. The NATO Bosco, honors to your family. Want to give honors to our beloved brother Marquise L. Krishna, and honors to our brother Charles Warrell, for checking in, early, so to speak. So yeah, this is a powerful demonstration, family. And we have a grand drawing to bring to the manifest, minus doubt or contradiction. You can believe that. We got a lot to bring forth to our Moorish kin. And our subject matter, is very powerful. Again, we're dealing with the holy instruction from the prophet, master, and servant. And ayat is a very powerful ayat, and that ayat has to do with, and thou who art a master, be just to thy servant, if thou expected from him fidelity and reasonable in thy commands, if thou expected ready obedience. You see, in the West, we've been taught to think of the world through the eyes of warfare. And everybody has always got some type of enemy, some type of conflict, so to speak, when it comes to dealing with men amongst men. And nothing can be further from the truth, because we know as Muslims that our true conflict, a battle, is the conflict that take place within, the inner jihad, the inner war, the war against the lower self, and not somebody outside of the self. And so once we understand this, we can get beyond the Eurocentric philosophy, because the Eurocentric philosophy would tell you that fear is stronger than love. You see, and that comes from their concepts of the art of war. So we demonstrate the art of peace, and even when you go into the Eastern or the Oriental expression, of the teachings of Mao, and you looked into his concept, he would tell you, well, the art of war is the art of peace. You see? In other words, being able to find the peace within the self and peace, amongst the people, And then you don't have no reason to be looking at a reason to try to make somebody fear you, or trying to oppress somebody through control and so forth and so on. But in the West, that's what they have pushed over here so long, so people think it's cool. They read certain books which have poisoned the hearts and minds of our people all the way up until now. Certain things that deal with espionage and betraying and overthrowing, your leadership and all this other foolishness. And so we have this mindset that has crept in amongst our people and affected them. It's like a disease, and this disease has infested the hearts and minds of our people, so much so to where they want to be like the European. And this is why Prophet Noble Drew Ali said he was going to stop that European in us from thinking. We can't overemphasize that and get us to thinking for ourselves, so to speak. The chapter that we have, Prophet Noble Drew Ali was very wise and exact in the way that he brought forth the method and the methodology, of teaching our people and what it was that we needed. So he gave us a total different paradigm, which brought about a paradigm shift, because if you want to change the way people think, you got to change what it is that they thinking about, or what their thought is influenced by, the literature. You see? And when you understand what is actually being said, throughout our Moorish Holy Quran, in relation to dealing with these holy instructions, notice what he said, what he gave to the Moors. He told the Moors to repine not. And we know that this is dealing with complaining. We went over this in our last session, last week, right? When we first introduced the chapter. But he said, repine not, O man, at the state of servitude. That was our subject matter, right? It's the appointment of Allah and have many advantages. It removeth thee from the cares and solicitudes of life. But when we go deeper into the chapter, we see that this one ayat unfolded the whole expression of the concept of the position of the master and the servant. The honor of a servant is his fidelity. His highest virtues are submission and obedience. So if someone thinks that serving someone else, is something that make them less of a man, so to speak, or less of a woman for our sisters, so to speak, then this is the problem. We see it, in society when it comes to us working for each other. Mainly us working for each other as a people. This is where the conflict come at. We have it to where brothers don't want to honor other brothers because they want to assert their dominance, that they the king honcho or whatever the case may be. Whether they exert it because they think they know more. Some people may even use the aspect of worldly age to try to assert dominance. Some people use the aspect of the wealth that they have. Some people use the aspects of influence that they may have. Some people use the aspects of manipulation and so forth and so on. All types of ways to where people try to enslave you, so to speak. But, as our chairman always teach and have taught us, you can't enslave a God. You see? And so we see it all the way down even to the family structure. When it comes between the brother and the sister, a sister may not want to honor the brother in his highest aspect. The brother may not want to honor the sister in the highest aspect. So therefore, there's no service being offered to each other. And therefore, the relationship is ruined, so to speak. And this happens also with other people. Certain people may feel that if you have certain influence or certain things, then you are obligated to serve them because they know you, they your family, and all types of things. And then they end up becoming your oppressor from that standpoint. You tell them no, and the next thing you know, they want to go to war with you. They want to plot, to take you off the county and all types of things. This is what we deal with when it comes to dealing with our people. Most of the problems that we have had in our community has to do with this key point. our people not being able to be of service, and our people not being able to actually be a true master teacher. You see, a master learner, so to speak. So it goes on, and we see then that the highest virtues are submission and obedience, because this is what makes a master teacher a master teacher. When they also have the ability, to demonstrate the degrees of submission and obedience that they are asking of the servant. And the only way a true mastermind or a master teacher can demonstrate that is that they themselves have not forgot that they were a servant at some time. You see? Now, we're not talking about the situation where one just want to do anything and everything that they choose to do, don't want to hear nothing nobody else saying, and so forth and so on. And therefore, if you don't listen, then, you the enemy. We ain't talking about that type of demonstration there, because we already know where that thought pattern come from. We really going into these instructions and, dealing with them as they are. So as we go on, we see also where in ayat 3 it states, be patient and therefore honor the reproofs of thy master, and when he rebuked thee, answer not again. Now, I want y'all to listen to these instructions, because they're going to come up again in a minute. He say, answer not again. If you feel like one is being harsh, they are coming forth with rigor, you don't have to respond in rigor. You respond, by no response in most cases when it comes to dealing with, if one know, because one know when they demonstrating rigor, when they are not demonstrating, so you ain't got to answer that, because long as you keep the highest expression, this is going to be the best expression. Then it states, the silence of thy resignation should not be forgotten. And if one is truly honorable, then they will honor that, and all is well, so to speak. Now, when you're dealing with an oppressor, one that is about oppression, they looking for submission, they looking for you to look at them as your God outside, then you drop the world on somebody like that, because that's what Prophet Noble Drew Ali told you to do. You see? But anyway, it goes on, be studious of his interests. It says, be diligent in his affairs and faithful to the trust which he reposeth to thee. In other words, demonstrate some loyalty, and so forth. Be studious, walk in the footsteps. And that's a problem that we have doing. Our people can have no knowledge of a thing and still seek to contend and be in opposition to someone just for the sake of demonstrating, because they don't want to listen. They think they're too grown to learn. They think they know too much to accept instruction, and so forth and so on. Then they'll blame you for demonstrating the same thing, so to speak. That's, the way our people demonstrate. But it goes on, and it says that thy time and labor belong unto him, defraud him not thereof, for he paid thee for them. Now, this is just like as if you were working on a job. You put in an application for the job, and now you done got hired on the job. Now, this is somebody else's business you working under. So your time is now the time of the particular individual that you're working for. You on their clock. So what you look like, trying to, let's say, defraud the one as it relates to the time, on, just riding the clock, so to speak, and not really demonstrating on that special measure after you put the application in. Now, I can see, if you were sought out and all that, you still ain't got no right to do that to somebody else's clock. But we saying you done went and put an application in. This is audacity, is what I'm trying to point out. You want to be part and partial, of the labor, or be a laborer of, building nations. And now you get on the manifest and you want to go contrary. You don't want to demonstrate. You want to be lazy about the work, so to speak. We're just speaking in general, using things that our people can identify with. You see, that ain't a good degree according to the prophet's instructions. It also states, and thou who art a master, be just to thy servant, if thou expected from him fidelity and reasonable in thy commands, if thou expected ready obedience. So not only do we have the measure that has to do with, how the servant is to draw, but notice the master is also giving instructions. If you expect somebody to draw for what it is you bring forth, and you want them to demonstrate, fidelity, that fidelity, which is actually what we call, his highest virtue in submission and obedience. That's ayat 2, right? If you want him to demonstrate that, then you have to be reasonable in your commands if you expected ready obedience, so to speak, right? Now, we ain't talking about somebody just going to be hard-headed and going to do what they do anyway, whatever the case may be. We're talking about, somebody that's really trying to do the work, so to speak, But anyway, it goes on and it express to one who is a mastermind to know that the spirit of a man is in him. That means if you're dealing with a real man, he ain't no pushover. You see what I'm saying? And just because that man respects you as being a man, don't mean he gonna let you just treat him no any type of way and do what you want to do. Not no real man. You know what I mean? So these are draws, and I take it deeper than that to go beyond the man. Because I like to say man dealing with Moorish American national. Let's say a spirit or the spirit of the Moorish American national is in them. He or her. And if you're a Moorish American national, there's certain things you ain't going for. You see what I'm saying? You ain't going for the okie doke. Because you know who made you. You know the great God is Allah. You know that you are not here, to bow down to anything outside of the great God Allah, But in the same token, there's a grand balance because that don't give you no excuse to buck neither. You see? But in other words, the spirit of a Moorish American national in them, they got knowledge of who they are, so they are not going to allow you to just treat them any type of way and molest them and so forth and so on, with all types of rigorous behavior, whatever the case may be. And we understand that, but when you have one that's just looking for conflict, the difference between that and someone that is going to respond, justly. In other words, the spirit of one who just coming because they in opposition and they want to buck you. I'm saying a wise mastermind know when they dealing with somebody that's rebellious and when they dealing with somebody that's ain't going to let you do them in any type of way. And a mastermind will honor that and respect that as special measure, and keep it moving, whatever the case may be. We just giving it to you on what's being said here. Severity and rigor, it shows you, may create fear, but can never command love. Now this is very important because we're going to come across this right here a little later as we move forward. There was a statement that our brother Muhammad Ibn Abdullah made, in the teachings of Al-Islam, where they say leadership is won in the hearts of the people, and that has to do with the nearest place you can meet the great God Allah. If you coming forth from that special seat of authority, then divine authority will always be delegated from that special measure, and you will gather those who are able to embrace the truth, who know what the truth is, and they love the truth and they're going to stand on the truth, in every situation, so to speak. So these are the things that we have to be truly knowledgeable of when it comes to these special drawings, family. Hold up. Give me 1 second here. So once we able to reach that special level of understanding, then we can actually move and get somewhere. When it comes to dealing with the way we communicate with each other, the way our people deal with each other, because that's always the issue. So this is why we always been instructed to keep the love out front. Our prophet told us keep the love out front. And there are some people that's gonna be in opposition no matter what it is you do. You can do everything great and good for ones, and they just gonna show you opposition just for the sake of showing you opposition. You see, so we have to be always on the manifest and be mindful of this type of behavior when we come across it, so to speak. But we are not the ones that are here to look for those types of conflicts, where they are not there, so to speak. So these are some powerful measures, family. It also went on to say, as it went deeper in the last ayat, it said, mix kindness with reproof and reason with authority. Kindness with reproof and reason with authority. Meaning to the best of your ability, it's always good to admonish somebody rather than scold somebody. You see? Now, you may give extra emphasis when one has not got it and you done gave them kindness over and over and over again, but you still ain't gonna drag one through the mud, so to speak. But it says, mix kindness with reproof and reason with authority, and so shall thy admonitions take place in his heart, and his duty shall come, it says, or become his pleasure. He shall serve faithfully from the motive of gratitude, and he shall obey thee cheerfully from the principle of love. In other words, if you ain't out there trying to shine on somebody, trying to humiliate or make them look bad, or so to speak, it's going to always be a mode of love, so to speak, right? And it says, and fail thou not in return to give his diligence and fidelity in their proper reward. So you owe the same fidelity and the same diligence, so to speak, again, toward the individuals that you expect it from. These are the virtues of submission and obedience that both the master and the servant have to be able to demonstrate. That's the gist of this special chapter. But these lessons, being that we know that we have been told they come through the maxims of the teachings of Akhenaten. We can even say the teachings of Amenhotep, or the Sabate teachings of Kemet, are most definitely in these teachings. And I'm finna prove it to you in a second here. If we go into most of the teachings, like the I Ching and, a lot of the teachings of the Dhammapada, the Pali canons, some of the Proverbs and Psalms and the Piscean records, a lot of the Hadith, certain measures in the Grand Quran, they have all said these same things in different ways, because the truth is the only thing that changes not. So in other words, these teachings that deal with morality, have always been on the manifest, for people to basically be able to draw from. That's why certain principles and maxims are universal, so to speak. Even though they may not believe what you believe, some of these teachings have still reached different people. And like I said, in the West, they will have you to think that if you're a ruler, a master, and have servants, then you got to instill fear in them. And this is where slavery come from. I'm gonna beat you, and scourge you, sometime to death, to put fear in other people. You see? And like I said, a lot of that demonstration from the Roman aspect, have to do with their concepts of warfare. But when you dealing with peace and you trying to build a nation of peace, those tactics don't work. And they will bring ruins to a nation that is based upon trying to deal with love and peace and some truth and some freedom and some justice and so forth and so on. I was telling y'all about, the teachings of the West, and, a lot of this goes back to, what they call even Machiavellian philosophy. We give honor to our beloved brother, Tupac Amaru Shakur, because he took the persona of what he had studied. The brother came up through the Panthers, being raised up through that type of ideology. And he definitely had some literal warfare going on around it. So we can understand why he took the stance he took. But the brother said, I renamed it and called it Machiavelli and not Machiavelli. He said I was taking that because they stole a lot of this stuff from us anyway. And if you do deep research, you'll see that, certain things they did take from the ancestors and then they put their own spin on it. But from the European or the Italian standpoint, these rules of war, they applied to, real bloody warfare. And a lot of that stuff has to do with the way the mafia operate, because that came from the Italian mindset, so to speak. And some of the concepts they had that came from that doctrine was that fear, could be potent as an instrument for a ruler to control their subjects and maintain power. And he also argued, that it's better for a leader to be feared than loved, but also warned against being hated. So even though he taught that it was better to be feared than loved, he warned against being hated. And he said that fear can deter disobedience and rebellion, meaning when you got people that's trying to rise up and kill you or take you out, which is something we ain't dealing with. Ain't nobody trying to take up. Yeah, we might have some, fanatics, maybe we don't know, but we ain't in no state of where we at war with nobody. We don't own no bombs and no guns, so to speak. And so when it comes to that, this doesn't apply to us. Remember, these are rules of war that we're talking about. We're dealing with peace. We're peace-loving people. You can't even be a nation without being a peace-loving people. So anyway, you'll hear Rome making references to this type of thing too in some of their political upheavals when they go back and forth. Yeah, this one was using Machiavellian tactics and so forth, and that's what they referred to. It also went on in that doctrine saying that fear can deter disobedience and rebellion and help a ruler maintain authority over their subjects. However, excessive cruelty and oppression could lead to resentment and ultimately the downfall of the ruler. So that's common sense right there. If you treat some people bad, then they're going to have some resentment. But you got some people, they're going to resent you even if you good to them. Why you think so many people have died and was betrayed by people that was close to them? People that were with them every day, knew their mama, knew their daughter, their sisters and brother, family, and everything. So you don't have to treat some people cruel, and they're going to do what they do anyway. But we don't even worry about that right there as Muslims. Being in fear and worrying about what somebody going, we don't deal with that. You see? And the great God Allah ain't going to let nothing happen that ain't meant to happen. And it ain't the call of your demise. It's the rise of your demise, so to speak. Or in other words, it ain't the cause, but the call. Because we all got a time to be called and we don't know how it's going to be. So, it can be a Moorish American national going to the storefront. Somebody run up on him, try to rob him and shoot him down or whatever the case may be. And they were a peace-loving individual. You see? That's just the cause. But we ain't worried about the cause. We worry about the call. It was their time. And we got many different ways that we deal with transit. I'm just giving an example. So as we move on, there was another measure where in their philosophy, they was talking about how, the importance of fear, that they discussed the concept of love and its potential benefits, because they looked at this as a means to be manipulative as well. If you get somebody to make them feel like you love them, then you can pull them close to you and you take them off the count. That's the way the Italians demonstrate. That's why you see in the mafia, some of the people that were right there with the individual, they get in the car with somebody and next thing you know, they get that person with them, get out the car, and they're taking them off the count. But anyway, it say he suggested that it's desirable for the ruler to be loved by their subjects, but it should not come at the cost of being effective. Meaning their love for the people that are serving them should not interfere with their ability to make decisions, that have to be dealing with strong decisions if they have to, so to speak, right? It says, again, they should not come at the cost of their being effective and strong in governing. In other words, make them weak. But it says being loved can help a ruler gain support and loyalty from the people, making it easier to govern and lessening the need for oppressive measures. That go back to the real aspect of leadership being won in the hearts of the people. Because if you truly demonstrating leadership from a mode of love, you ain't got to tell the people to do too much. They're going to do it anyway. They're going to go out the way to work for the leadership. So you don't have to press on them and you're going to do out of, you don't have to do all that. You see what I'm saying? Because the spirit of a man, Moorish American nationalist, is in him. So, again, as we go forth, it also went into the drawings of, Machiavelli's approach of governance is often seen as a ruthless, immoral, emphasizing pragmatic strategies of ethical considerations, and that his ideas, have been subject to intense debate because of the way he was demonstrating, basically. Those who felt like, man, this is terrible, this is horrible, and some like, well, that's the way it is, the world we live in, and so you have those who advocate for being manipulative when it comes to being power hungry. The illusion of power is what we call it at this level, and also dealing with the concept of the approach to leadership, and others, some people feel like in the political world, this is perfect, the way to demonstrate this way. And that's why we see it here being demonstrated upon us. It has been demonstrated upon us for centuries. People trying to rule us by fear, no love. And then using love, as a tool of manipulation, to act as if they have some compassion and so forth and so on, just to basically break a people down. This was done when they first came here amongst the natives. And you should see some of the policies that, Rome and their church, had put out here, okay. And a lot of people don't know when you deal with the concept, of even slavery, a lot of that stuff that we see right now, even the things that took place, during the time when slavery was still really being demonstrated. All you got to do is read the book 100 Years of Lynching, or look online, you'll see people being hung from trees. They call it strange fruit, But when you go deeper than that, you'll find that from the very time that Columbus hit the shores, so to speak, those were the tactics that they was demonstrating. Cut the finger in the ear and all that type of stuff off, basically to instill fear in a people, So all of those tactics that were used later were used from the time that ones touched down upon these swords, so to speak. So it was inherited behavior, so much so to where it became embedded in this culture over here. And it caused our people to come up with the same mentality. It's a dog-eat-dog world. So most of those who are in the world of, the killing and everything, they trying to imitate, they oppressor. They imitating the slave master. They have tried to become the new slave maker, slave breaker, slave holder, and slave catcher under these same methodologies, of instilling fear in someone to do their bid, make them do their bid. We as a people have learned this behavior, and that's why Prophet Noble Drew Ali instructed us. His first thing he told us is that we must learn to love instead of hate. You see? So these are things that definitely we have to be knowledgeable of. Want to give honors again for having a prophet such as Prophet Noble Drew Ali bringing these teachings back to us and uplifting fallen humanity and teaching us to be able to do the same thing. Even in the teachings of our beloved brother Muhammad Abdullah, unbeknownst to many of our people. And that's the thing, too. I want to give honors again. I always give honors to that lecture that our brother Dr. Clark gave, on true origins of Islam. And he spoke on how, Islam, the teaching that actually reached us, was a completely African introduction, so to speak, of the teaching. It was not Arab, because those who were taught received the teachings of Zaid, and Bilal, that was with Muhammad. They were his first followers, and their first pilgrimage they went on was into the region of what we call today Abyssinia, Al-Habasha, as they call it in the Arabia, Ethiopia, Meroe, Sudan, the Kushite region, so many different names based on the era and the time that you come through, but these first introductions came from Africans, and they took the spiritual creed. We call it, the divine creed. They took that divine creed, across Africa. It was not the Arabs, contrary to popular belief that people say tried to, force it on the people by the sword. There were people that were willing to receive the unity of these teachings because they had been going to war prior to with the Visigoths, so to speak, that they had been at war with, and so the true Maori people, the original people that most people like to call in this modern time Labiko Berbers or Berbers, we know that's a misnomer that was actually given by the Arabs, but these are the indigenous people. The Maori people were the indigenous people. They were there, and so when they received the teachings of Islam, coming from directly the source, so to speak, their teaching was always a high state of the spirituality, and they was able to identify with it because, we have had long spiritual traditions prior to, Islam reaching us at that particular time, and the majority of the teaching that reached our people actually was the mystic teachings or the mystic dimensions of the Islamic teaching, and Sufism and so forth and so on. That's why you will also often see that most of those who receive certain teachings is a lot of roots that came directly from the line of lineage of Ali that dominates the teachings of Africa, so to speak. And he was said to be the gateway to knowledge, the spiritual knowledge of Islam. But nevertheless, a lot of that tied up together when you deal with it. We know Sufism comes straight from Kemet because the father of that was known as Dhul Nun, and he'll tell you he got it from Tehudi. So knowing that, we can see how people was practicing, the ancient teachings, and they held on to those ancient teachings that come out of the original source, and they demonstrated them under what our brother Mustafa Gadala referred to as a thin layer of Islam. And this is the likeness of the teaching that we demonstrate, here. We call it Islamism, which is not to be misconstrued or misunderstood as being what the Arabs demonstrate. We talked about how we have our own school of thought. We went over that on numerous occasions, countless occasions, so to speak. And this is just the way. Now, some of the characteristics that prophets have and leaders, because prophets, have students that become scholars, and you have what they call in the Arabia, they call them imams. They establish imamates, things that really don't exist now in this new era and time, because when Rome came through, they swept all of that away. Sultanates and so forth and so on, swept all that away. Both the word imam and sultan came from the Grand Quran. They exist in the Quran before they became words that people detach, from the Quran and make them just seats of authority, a class of scholars. These were terms that were taken out of the Quran. And so in the teachings of the Hebrew culture, as they would call the Israelite culture, they would say a rabbi. You go into the places of India and deal with the Oriental doctrines of the East, so to speak, then you hear terms such as guru, and Baba, and Mir, and, we can go in a Murshid, and all these type of different titles that refer to a master teacher, a mastermind. But nevertheless, there are certain points that all of them dealt with. For example, when you get into the world of Islam, before Muhammad was called the prophethood, he was known for his integrity and his trustworthiness. And they referred to him, for his honesty and his trustworthiness. He earned the nickname Al-Amin, which means the trustworthy. You see? Now, this goes deeper because in the Quran, Allah has revealed the truth to who he called his Amana, Al-Amin. And unbeknownst to many of us, it tells you in Surah 7, the one that deals with called the heights, it refers to a time where he called forth man, meaning all of us, before we even were physically created. And he asked us, am I not your Lord, your God, your Rabb? That same word is used in the Arabic, is used in the Hebrew context, so to speak, Proto-Sinaitic, Proto-Canaanite. And they say, yeah, we acknowledge you. In other words, like we say in our Moorish teaching, who made you? You see what I'm saying? Who made you? That's basically what he was asking. And then once they declared that a special measure, the trust was automatically given to ones. The angels, when the great God Allah offered his amana, his trust, it said, that they shrunk, so to speak. This is before angels took on the fleshly garb in man. They shrunk because angels only know, hear, and obey. But when angels begin to manifest in the flesh, they're the consciousness of the great God. So that became the trust, of man being able to be a vicegerent. Lord of the plane of soul, Lord of the plane of things made manifest. We were entrusted, to a title of our vast estate, as chapter 1 tells us in the Moorish Holy Quran. You see? And so this, whether we know it or not, we have been given that same trust, of the Al-Amin. Even though Muhammad received that before his prophethood, we received it too, whether we know it or not. But his integrity was the foundation of the trustworthiness that he demonstrated and people seen in him. Compassion and empathy. These are keys of leadership. One must show a deep compassion and empathy for people as well, regardless of their social status, their background. You have to care for those who may be considered poor. You got to support the weak and the needy. You have to treat all with kindness and respect. People that you don't even know. You see? Humility. That goes back to the submission and obedience and so forth and so on. Anytime we come into contact with somebody else, we should be prostrating on a spiritual level toward each other. In other words, we recognizing the God in each other. In some places, people do meet each other and literally prostrate toward each other, touch heads and everything in certain cultures when you go into the motherland to show the honorable expression, so to speak. That's something that we lost in the West because we have been taught to identify someone based upon, what we think we assume them to be. And so therefore we live our lives trying to study the character of other people and make them what we want them to be, and give definition to their way of life as we see it, and we deal with them accordingly, as opposed to being able to recognize one as a spirit and a part of the great God when you meet him, where you're not looking, for faults and looking for, weaknesses and so forth and so on. So humility and approachability, often have certain measures, so to speak, as well. Despite one's elevated status as well, whether they are a prophet, leader, or whether they're just a regular individual, as we may see them. So one must remain humble and approachable and interact with people, on every level, equally. You hear it in, the U.S. comes, we all created equal, but, we already know that was dealing with them. We really have to demonstrate this if we are to be within the realm of our teaching, our doctrine. You see? These are morals. It should make you feel some type of way if you can't fulfill your duty to your fellow brother or sister. If you don't feel no type of way because you can't carry out a measure, maybe to circumstances that you don't have control over, and it don't make you feel some type of way, then you need to question yourself. Because that means you may be more selfish than selfless. So we must be saviors of ourselves by mastering the self, and then we can be a servant or of service to all of those who are outside of the self. And this is what allows one to gain the camaraderie, so to speak, or the unity, of the masses. These characteristics, leading by example. Prophet Noble Drew Ali led our people by example. Our brother Yehoshua led his people by example. Prophet Muhammad led his people by example. Every prophet that you can think of, they led them by example. They were the message that they brought. They practiced what they preached. They were actively involved in the affairs of the people, so to speak, as much as they could be. Taking part in their daily tasks, and demonstrating the values that they advocated. You know what I mean? They gave vision and inspiration to the people that they were dealing with. They had a clear vision, not a measure dealing with a destination that's neither uncertain or unknown. You see? They knew where they were guiding the people to. They knew what the outcome would be. You see, and this inspired the people because they knew that they were not being misled, and they could therefore entrust those who were guiding them, to the proper destination, so to speak. And this gave the people purpose to then take part in aid and assisting in the vision that was put out there. So the vision was not only for their immediate welfare, but also for their spiritual growth and their success and those things that take them beyond, their immediate welfare. But most of our people look for leadership based on what is it you can do for me here now? What is it that I can get out of you? If it ain't nothing I can get out of you, then I don't want to hear what you're talking about. If you ain't talking about money, you ain't talking about nothing. Our people have gained that mentality from the West. And a lot of them don't even want to hear nothing that has to do with nation building. They'll rather sit down and learn about, the financial system of Rome, although the financial system of Rome is crashing and collapsing, so to speak. And they'll rather waste their time on that, rather do some real due diligence and research on what it means to demonstrate self-determination. Create your own wealth. Create your own economic and financial system. They had a group of brothers out there, the EFF. They went viral because they were speaking on, dealing with economics too, and financial group, so to speak. And they have a revolutionary concept in reference to it, and they got some controversial measures out there. We see them basically doing the same thing the prophet talked about, stopping that European from thinking. And they have a particular song that they sing, and it's very controversial because people are taking it like they mean kill all the European, but in all actuality, they really talking about that thought pattern. Get that thought pattern up out of here. And they chant it every time they get it. And they tried to take it to the world court and had them ones persecuted world court say they don't see nothing in it that has to do with anything to say they intend on bringing harm to nobody physically. So basically they got to eat that. But the main measure is that we have to be willing to do the work ourselves and stop enriching everybody else with the talents that we receive. Prophet Noble Drew Ali told the Moors get a good European education, but he didn't tell you to further, aid the European in oppressing yourself and your people by not bringing those talents back to your community, and utilizing them for the benefit, of the whole of our people. Also inclusivity, justice, most leadership demonstrate this. They emphasize the importance, prophets, leaders, rulers, all of them. They demonstrate justice. In fact, they are the justice that comes in the time when our people, a particular people, need justice, and treat people again from different backgrounds. It can be economically, politically, socially, religiously. You treat them all on equal grounds and fair, and so forth and so on, because that's the thing our people have in them too. They fear what they don't know. We got some Moorish family right here within our midst of being Moorish American, and they fear having a conversation, with other people outside of our paradigm, but you can't teach them if you fear. You see, if you fear the people, you ain't gonna never be able to lift them up, because you feel that they may know more than you in the doctrine they stand on. That's why we are here teaching our people as well, that you don't have to fear the people. You got to embrace them where they at and then take them where they need to be. If you study what it is that they believe or what they demonstrate, then you can talk to them better. But you can't just come forth with a rigid mindset and rigid behavior. I'm a Moorish American Muslim. I'm demonstrating mag. You gonna listen to me, and all that stuff you talking about is garbage. Now with the European stuff you may be talking about is garbage, but I'm talking about, what they hold dear to themselves. Like their actual belief systems and so forth and so on. You don't take a God from a people if you ain't willing to replace it. And if you don't have the knowledge of dealing with the replacement, then you shouldn't be speaking to them anyway, because it ain't gonna lead to nothing but, more conflict. But some people gonna have conflict as well for the sake of conflict. But again, when you're dealing with a fool, so to speak, and you're dealing with somebody that really earnestly is seeking the truth. You see, effective communication. We call it speaking with power, clarity, and authority. We have to learn to do that. You can't speak, in a sense to where you seem like you don't know what you're talking about. When you speak with power, clarity, and authority. And once you're able to demonstrate like that right there, it'll move people. It may not move them right then, but they'll go and do the research if you are really firm in your premise. You see? So all of the prophets were excellent communicators, and they were great listeners. You see, they communicated their message clearly and eloquently. They was able to genuinely tell these people or show them that they cared about them and that they were concerned for. Also what is needed, and this is very important, one got to be able to demonstrate some perseverance and resilience. This goes from the aspect of being a mastermind, a master teacher, also being a servant or a servant of humanity. If you ain't got no perseverance in you and no resilience, I call it staying power, then you burn up from the start. Because your saving power determines your staying power, so to speak. When you deal with, perseverance and resilience, we're talking about when challenges come and opposition come. When one is faced with these things, then one still remains steadfast and resilient. And this is where you earn the admiration and loyalty of, companionship, so to speak. So it is this that allowed all prophets in their leadership legacy to be able to demonstrate that which became a testament to transformative power and leadership that was grounded in moral principles, empathy, and genuine concern for the well-being of others. And this is what we see right now that inspire us, until this day, because they are not physically here, but their teachings are still changing and transforming the lives of a people. So we are trying to reach that special level to where when we transcend from the plane of things made manifest, our life works, our ways and our acts and deeds will become the instruction for the generation that is young, not yet born, and yet to come. See, that's the work. That's what we should be making preparation for. Preparing those who are coming behind us, because we ain't here. We always say, hold the station. The station gonna be here long after we leave the plane of thing made manifest. But it's the inspiration, it's the work that we have been called to do, that's most important, that we have to be able to get into. So I want to give some grand drawings, family, and especially to our family out there that's listening to us, because these are lessons that you can actually build your house with, when we talk about the maximums of truth and so forth and so on. I want to give honors to our goddess and queen, I think it's Gia Healer as well, Earth Healer. I want to give honors to our sister. Brother Ja Kush, we give honors to you as well. All our family that's coming in, love and light to you all, peace and love to you all. And we're going to drop the link in here in a minute, just in case any of y'all would like to come forth and speak. You're welcome to come on the panel. I want to give honors to all of our Moorish kin on the panel. In my closing of this Moorish Perspectives, I want to go back to certain things that I said, because I say we was going to come back to the things we spoke of in the chapter we was dealing with. And these teachings are older than we think. We have a particular papyri, which is known as the oldest papyri in Kemet, the Prissy papyri, or what they like to call the teachings of Tahotep. We are actually in the midst of unfolding our particular measure in due time here at this level, but one has already been demonstrated by our people, by the brother Asher G. Hiller, Larry Williams and Nia Damali. They come through and edited these measures. So I want to come forth with some of these maxims of the teachings of Tahotep and show you how they apply to the same stuff that we're dealing with. And we just spoke on when we was talking about master and servant, so to speak. And it starts on page 16. Listen to these things, family. It said, these are instructions by the mayor of the city, who is also the vizier. I want to stop right there too. The word mayor, a lot of people have no idea that this word that is called mayor, has come all the way up into this time. Yes, that's right. And it came from, some words that actually are a word that actually existed already in Kemet, unbeknownst to many of our people. The word mayor, actually was referred to as mir, M-E-R, when it comes to our people. Mir, and mir actually was a particular title that dealt with, one who was a governor of a city, a governor of a certain province. This word mayor and mir. But there's also another word dealing with that especially drawing that also deals with love. We was talking about that earlier. So, these words can all be traced back to the same root when it comes to the consonants. You see, M and R. And even when we deal with the high priest, of Anu, or the name of Amen, which is Mar. So we see it connected to the same root, and also becoming the word in connection to dealing with what we call more in this new era in time. So There are no strange happenings. Ain't nothing new under the sun, family. Nothing new under the sun. All we have to do is do the research. And once you're able to do that research, can't nobody take that from you. They may be able to disagree with you, but they can't take the truth from you when you standing on the truth, when you know the truth, when you be the truth. You see? And that's a fact. So our duty here is to teach our people and uplift them. So yeah, that word again, mayor, when you go back to the Kemetic aspect, it actually trace back to the same type of interpretation that we have it as now in this new era and time. I'm gonna show it to you too, just to be precise. Let me show it to you here. I'm gonna share this, and then we're gonna go forth, and then we're gonna open up the floor in a second. Make sure I'm sharing my entire screen. Okay, there we go, right there. There it is, right there. And I showed this to our family a couple of times. See, the etymology is the key to words. When you trace that root back without the vowel, you remove the vowel, and you trace that root back as far as you can, you'll see it. See, mir equals mayor, chief magistrate, right? And well, mir newt is what they called it. We already know that these pictorials is the cover up. So we ain't got to go into that right there. We ain't referring to pictorials because we know this came from hieratic. So anyway, governor of the town, mayor, right? Mir het right? The 6, which means overseer of the 6 courts of justice, right? Mirkat, which means works, clerk of the works, right? And then you go and you compare and you see mayor, and it gives all the origins of the word. It says first, the definition is principal officer of a municipality, chief magistrate of a city or borough. Mayor, that's another way of saying it. Now, if you ever seen these different changes, you'll see the connection. Mir, see the M-E-I-R instead of M-A-I-R? Then it says mid, such as the 13th century as a surname it was used. From Old French, same thing. They added an E on the end of M-A-I-R-E. Head of a city or town or government, 13th century. Originally greater, superior. That means what it meant, greater and superior originally. Then an adjective from the Latin, they have M-A-I-O-R. You see, then they have M-A-J-O-R, major. Major and greater, you already know them mean the same thing, but this is Latin comparative. Magnus, great, large, big, of size, abundant, of quality, great, considerable, of value, strong, powerful, of force, of persons, elder age, also figuratively, great, mighty, grand, important, from pi, magno, and from root, meg, which means great. So this is how you deal with etymology. So if you just look at it from the face value and look at mayor as it is, you wouldn't be able to see the connection in all of this if you didn't go into the etymological root. Now, how do I know that this is connected? Because if I went further and did deeper research in alternative forms of the word, and I'm going to blow it up right here so you can see it, you see all of these different words dealing with the word mayor. Look at how they are spelled. M-A-I-E-R, right? E-M-A-I-E-U-R, M-A-R. That's actually a Kemetic word too. M-A-R, mar. M-A-Y-E-R-E, M-E-E-E, M-E-E-R, pardon self, M-E-H-I-R, M-E-I-R, M-E-I-R-E, and then mir. See, so mir is also one of the alternative forms that deals with this word mayor, which goes back to the Kemetic word that deals with mir, meaning the same thing in the ancient time that it means in the modern time, so to speak. You see? And then they'll go here again in the etymology and show that it goes back to the ancient or the old, well, pardon self, Old French, And it also has to deal with the head of a city, town, or a government. You know what I mean? Bigger, greater, again, superior, big and great. So, these are the old expressions of these things. So this is why we even use the term great God. You hear people refer to that's a great leader. When they say greatness, they're recognizing, great characteristics that you possess. Remember, Muhammad was called Al-Amin by his people, trustworthy. They seen great value in him. You see? So I just wanted to share that with our people that may have not known, that's why etymology is key. We have to be willing to deal with, etymology and trace the truth back. And we can't go wrong. So I'm going to keep going again. Start from the top. These are the instructions of the mayor. It says of the city, who is also the vizier. Vizier is another word that came up into this era and time too. From wazir to usir, usert. Assert yourself with power and authority. Wazir was a term that also goes back to osir, osar, leadership, power. That's why he held the crook and the flail in his hand in Egypt. Symbols of power and authority. So it says their instructions by the mayor of the city, who is also the vizier. His name is Tahotep, and he serves under Pharaoh Asa, who lives for all eternity. The mayor of the city, vizier, Tahotep addressed the supreme divinity, deity, as follows. And he said, God upon two crocodiles, in reference to the Heru. If y'all ever seen the picture, I got pictures of Heru standing on the crocodile, spearing him in the head, doing it to the pig, also doing it to the Hyksos, giving them all the same treatment, and this was symbolic to basically, the higher self conquering the lower self, because Heru represented the higher self, and everything that Setites worship, represented the lower expression, that reptilian mindset. So it says, who is sometimes shown standing on two crocodiles. May God, the process of aging, bring senility. My mind decays, and forgetfulness of the things yesterday has already begun. Feebleness has come and weakness grows. Childlike one sleeps all day, and the eyes are dim and the ears are becoming deaf. The strength is being sapped. The mouth is grown silent and does not speak. This is actually talking about the aging process that we all gonna have to go through at some time. The bones ache through and through. Good things now seem evil. The taste is gone. What old age does to people is evil. It's very evil is everything, pardon self. It says the nose is clogged and does not breathe. It is painful even to stand or sit. And may your servant be authorized to use the status of that of old age afterwards to teach the hearers, so as to tell them the words of those who have listened to the ways of our ancestors, and of those who have listened to the gods, the Neteru, right? May I do this for you, so that strife may be banned from among our people, and so that the two shores may serve you. And it's basically saying, when we get into a state of, becoming aged in our wisdom, so to speak, we should be seeking to pass this wisdom on to the next generation. It says, then the majesty of the deity said to Tahotep, go ahead and instruct him in the ancient wisdom. May he become a model for the children of the great. May obedience enter into him, and may he be devoted to the one who speaks to him. No one is born wise. And so begins the formulation of Medu Nefer, which is called good speech. Not Medu Neter, but Medu Nefer, good speech, to be spoken by the prince. It says the count and God's beloved eldest son of the Pharaoh and son of his body, mayor of the city, vizier, Tahotep instructs the ignorant in the knowledge and the standards of good speech. I will profit those who hear. It will profit those who hear. It will be of loss to those who transgress. If you don't take heed, in other words, like the prophet said, every word I speak is spirit, and you Moors had better take heed. They were basically saying this in reference to these teachings of Tahotep. And so Tahotep began to speak to the Pharaoh's son and to his posterity. And in the first maxim, he said, don't be proud and arrogant with your knowledge. Consult and converse with the ignorant and the wise. That's a teaching that we have right here in our Moorish Holy Quran. You see? It says, for the limits, it says, of art are not reached. No artist ever possesses that perfection to which he should aspire. Good speech is more hidden than greenstone emeralds. Yet it may be found among the maids at grindstones. And it goes on and said, if you meet a disputant in the heat of action, one who is more powerful than you, simply fold your arms and bend your back. To confront him would not make him agree with you. Pay no attention to his evil speech. If you do not confront him while he is raging, people will call him an ignoramus, and your self-control will be the match for his evil utterances. So in other words, when you're dealing with people that's acting crazy and they go to cussing and calling you out your name and you're able to hold your peace and stand your ground, people will honor that and respect that more than what it is they were trying to talk about. You see? This is true. But it tells you though, when you're dealing with somebody that seem to be a superior master in a particular field and they go to speaking with rigorous behavior right there in our chapter. You know, don't go in opposition, you see, so to speak, and get crazy with them. Go to cussing. No, don't do that. You know, if it's leadership coming at you, you don't go back and forth. You know, your silence is going to say everything. Your obedience going to say everything. Because if one is trying to gaslight and they see that you ain't biting on that foo-foo, you know what I mean? Then that's what it is. Sometimes it can be a test, you know, to make you stronger, so to speak. But anyway, in the third maxim, if you meet a disputant in action, one who is your equal, one who is on your level, you will overcome him by being silent while he is speaking evilly. There will be much talk among those who hear your name will be held in high regard among the great. So it's your discipline, you know, and fortitude. It's that resilience, family, that you have that's going to make people respect you because they see something great in your character. They know you know how to govern yourself. You know, it says if you meet, and this is the fourth maxim, if you meet a disputant in action who is a poor man and who is not your equal, do not attack him because he is weak. Don't take advantage of him because you feel like he's weaker than you. Leave him alone, and he will confound himself. And do not answer him just so that you can relieve your own heart. Do not vent yourself against your opponent. Wretched is he who injures a poor man. If you ignore him, listeners will wish to do what you want, basically. And you will beat him through their reproof, basically. In other words, the people will see if one acting crazy, like they ain't got no sense, and they don't respect, you know, your position, you know, they'll be the one that set that one straight. And I've seen this on numerous occasions when you see somebody trying to buck and be disrespectful, and then the masses see it and they go to putting that one in check. You ain't even got to say it. It says point 5, maximum 5. You know, if you're a man who leads a man, who controls the affairs of many, then seek most perfect way of performing your responsibility so that your conduct will be blameless. You know, great is ma'at, truth and justice and righteousness. It is everlasting. See, this is what we call the immortal virtues of the soul. Justice, mercy, love, and right. If you know anything about the soul is nothing more than the spirit vibrating not so fast. You see what I'm saying? These are the actions of the soul: thinking, willing, reason, understanding, remember. We have to think, will, reason, understand, and remember along the lines of justice, mercy, love, and right. You see? That's why when we speak of, the aspects of dealing with the mothers of virtue and the harmonies of life being justice, mercy, love, and right, we can equate that with being ma'at. So it says it is everlasting. Ma'at has been unchanged since the time of Osar. Some people say Osiris. We know that's the Greek expression. But it says to create obstacles to the following of laws is an open way to a condition of violence. So in other words, if you got somebody that don't want to follow instruction, they don't want to listen to law, they don't want to listen to, divine guidance, this opens up the way for conditions of conflict, basically. It says the transgressor of laws is punished, although the greedy person overlooks this. Baseness may obtain riches, yet crime never lands its wares on the shore. In the end, only Ma'at lasts. Truth and right. Man says Ma'at is my father's ground. Another one, do not scheme against the people. Maximum 6, I'm going to do 7 because I'm going to open up the floor after the 7. Do not scheme against people. God will punish accordingly. If a man says I shall live by scheming, he will lack bread for his mouth. A man says I will be rich, he will have to say my cleverness has trapped me. If he says I will trap for myself, he will not be able to say I trap for my profit. We got the youth, they love to use that word. They in the trap. They got trap houses and, it's all about the trap. We want to read that one again. My cleverness has trapped me. If he says I will trap for myself, he will not be able to say I trap for my profit. If a man says I will rob someone, he will end by being given to a stranger. People's schemes do not prevail. See, that's what we was talking about before, that deception and that Machiavellian mindset. People's schemes do not prevail. God's command is what prevails, and therefore live in the midst of peace. What God gives comes by itself. And that go back to what I be saying all the time. Let nature take its course. Stop trying to force time to move in your own direction and as you want things to unfold. And then get mad because they don't unfold the way you want them to unfold. Stop doing that. Let nature take its course and everything will unfold accordingly. It will be perfect when the blessings come. It says, if you are one among guests at the table, that's number 7, of a person who is more powerful than you, take what that person gives just as it is set before you and look at what is before you. Don't stare at your host. If somebody invites you in your house and give you the means of being able to bring about provision for yourself, what you looking on their plate for? You, like I said, you put an application to work for somebody and then they paying you and you may be well off from what they paying you, but you worry about what they got in their pocket. We call it pocket watching. You see? You don't do that. So it says, don't speak to him until he asks. One does not know what may displease him. Speak, and this is when you at somebody else's table now, when you in their house. Speak when he has spoken to you. Then your words will please his heart. The man who has plenty of the means of existence acts as his ka, right? Spiritual soul commands. He will give food to those who he favors. It is the ka that makes his hand stretch out. Remember, the ka deal with soul. This is the actions of the soul, thinking, reason, will, and understanding, remembrance. So it says the great man gives to the chosen man, thus eating is under direction of God. It is a fool who complains about it. Ungrateful people. So this is why you don't repine, you don't complain, because we already know what that brings. Remember, we looked up the word, it has to do with, actually illness. It brings misfortune. So that's my particular measure, family. Dealing with holy instruction from the prophet, master, and servant. And again, we're talking about, one who has become a mastermind, and a servant of humanity. That's what we getting at. So Islam, what we want to do now, we're going to open up the floor so that we can hear from our family. I'm going to drop this link just in case some of our family want to give their particular drawing too, and all of those who would like to come forth, you can come forth now and *6 your phone. Remember, our ayat is dealing with, and thou who art a master, be just to thy servant if thou expected from him fidelity, and reasonable in thy commands if thou expected ready obedience. Islam. *6 your phone, Moors. Islamism.
Gratitude, national system. Gratitude. All praise be to the great God Allah. I'm just Holy Prophet Noble Jawali. Islam, Islam, Islam. Once again, I rise and I give praise to the Almighty great God Allah. I give the highest honor to our Holy Prophet Noble Jawali. His high name is Sheikh Allah Sharif Jawali. I give high honors to the greatest forerunner ever, Marcus, Jose Garvey. I give high honors to our democratic Moorish American government. I give high honors to Act 1, our divine constitution bylaws, our government official staff, and citizens. And also National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Divine Minister Dr. Shadu Amenti Heavenly Checks Well. I give honors to you, sir, for this grand Moorish perspective class tonight, another grand class. And also I give honors to the Moorish perspective class. I give honors to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Our Moorish flag, grand emblem, grand seal. And I give honors to everything that is Moorish, all my Moorish kin here, there, and everywhere. All my Moorish kin I will speak that spoke before me, and all my Moorish kin that will speak after me. Islam, Islam, Islam. Dr. Divine Minister, Dr. Jeremiah Bay, let's go for the territory. And basically, grand man, like I said, this was a grand class tonight, and just listening to you, and basically, subject on the floor coming from chapter 50, the holy instructions from the prophet, master and servant, ayat 6, and thou whom art a master, be just to thy servant if thou expect from him fidelity.
Bay, can you pull up a little bit in your speech so the people can hear you online as well?
It's on, grand man. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. There you go. That's good right there. Go ahead.
It's long, grand man. Basically, as I was saying, basically from the class, what I was getting, grand man, throughout the whole time, you was going over your demonstration and basically talking about the chapter and everything. What I basically got, God man, is I got basically a harbinger, and just listening to you, it took me back, to chapter 19, and I just want to read basically maybe 3 ayats out of chapter 19, and it's going to be ayat, which is subhanAllah. It's chapter 19 out of our Moorish Holy Quran, and the chapter is the ministry of John the Harbinger. John the Harbinger returns to Hebron, lives as a hermit in the wilds, visits Jerusalem, and speaks to the people. And it'll be subhanAllah, ayat 14, 15, and 16 in the state. Be not disturbed, you rulers of the state. The coming king is no antagonist. He seeks no place on the earthly throne. The eyes of man shall see it not, and none can enter but the pure in heart. Prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. And like I said, everything that I was listening to you demonstrate, it took me to this, because we know that basically, that's our job. We're harbingers, and I give honors to you, for basically leading the way like you do every Moorish perspective. Every time you demonstrate, just basically helping one prepare the way because we know that purity paves the way for love, and that's basically what one is telling one to basically, if you're pure in heart and pure in thought and pure in mind, basically you can see because we know that the great God Allah, He speaks to man through man, and if you're not pure in heart, basically you can't receive what's being received because you basically got to be in pure heart. And that's basically a demonstration that I got from you, Grand Man. Like I say, Grand Class. And before I leave, I just want to read some of our words from our Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and it states, March 18th, 1929, Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on the other side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens. They are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors and it is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finances, and I need it badly. I never before have needed finances so badly as I do at the present, so I can shove aside the discourse that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. Nations of the world would not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being the head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the last few years. Like I say, National Assistant Grand Chief, Grand Class, and praise Allah, honor the Noble Drew Ali, honor to the theocratic Moorish American government. Peace and love to all. Islam, Islam, Islam.
And peace and love to you as well, brother, for that drawing. Praise be to Allah. All right. Next more. All right. No other more?
Islam.
Islam, brother Marvin Edwards Bay. How you be, grand man?
I'll be just as Morris as ever, God, man. And yourself?
I'm just as Moorish as well. All praise be to the great God Allah. It done stop pouring down on us out there.
Oh, man, be safe.
Yeah, it was tearing it up out there earlier.
I heard that. Okay, well, gratitude for calling me. This is Dr. Marvin Ellis Bay, Consul General of the Texas Consulate. And rising, giving all praise to the great God Allah, highest honors to his prophet, and honor to our Morris American government and our officials in this class, our Morris Prospectus class. I give honors to you for hosting and instructing this most powerful class, as well as I give honors to all those that aided in bringing forth this class this evening. I give honors to all those that gave their messages before me, and all that will give their messages after me. I just don't want to hold it up because I just wanted to come forth with support of this class because it's very powerful. You covered a lot of ground, and ain't too much to left to be said, so to speak. But I concur with that everything that you spoke on. You talked about um, Prophet Muhammad Ibn Abdullah, as they call him Al Amin, and he spoke of his integrity and his compassion and his empathy. These are all attributes that we have to harbor within ourselves. And he also spoke on the soul I mean, like I said, you covered a lot of ground, so I'm only going to touch on just some of what that kind of stuck out on me. Talk about that soul. When you talk about that thinking, understanding, reasoning, willing, and when these are the essence, pardon self, these are not the essence of the soul. But they are the actions of the soul. So we have to understand this, that soul can be misunderstood. But when we study and continue to study, as the prophet um, instructs us to do, his instructions are laws, and we hear and obey. You know, um, I'm just so grateful for really being here. And as we look at the soul, you know, you say, seek not to know it perfectly. Now, this coming from chapter 60 and the holy instruction from the prophet, the soul of man. It is inscrutable. It is inscrutable. You know, then that no, let's us know that it is divine, because divine is the only inscrutable entity. And but it's just so I'm just so grateful for being a part of this divine and national movement to be a part of this in this new era of time now. And I'm just grateful for being here, God man, and gratitude for you for all that you do for your North American government and the people. Because from since I've known you, you've helped me along the way. Because when I first came into the government, I was seeking the truth, seeking understanding, and you, amongst all of the Moors that was on the manifest, provided that, and you're still doing it. And I'm just so grateful for being here, being a part of this movement, this divine and national movement. And I say gratitude, God, man, for all that you do. Islam and peace.
Islam and peace, my brother. Reciprocal help and mutual obligation, brother. We definitely are aiding and assisting each other along the way, brother. We give honors to you for the wisdom, the will and the love. Islam, Islam, Islam. All right. Is there any other more who would like to come forth and express themselves? Exercise your five. Let the people know you're alive.
Islam.
Islam, Sister Curta Bay.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Danger near Curta Bay. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act One. I give honors to all my government officials, and I give honors to you, National Assistant Grand Chief, for this wonderful class tonight. And like the Moors has said, yes, you did cover a lot of ground, but it's a blessing and an honor. To be a part of these great teachings that are coming forth, and to be able to make them applicable to our lives and be the message that we bring, and to be able to take these messages to the four corners of the earth. Because like it was said, you did cover a lot of ground, but coming from ayat 6, your subject was coming from ayat 6, and it says, and thou who art a master, be just to thy servant if thou expected from him fidelity, and reasonable in thy commands if thou expect ready obedience. And I love it when you were sharing how here in the West, we had we had that all twisted up and messed up, and had such a big misunderstanding about that, to even till now, when you hear the words master, either servant, our minds automatically go back to somebody being cruel to us, being lording over us, just treating us other than who we really are, other than gods and goddesses, treating us in that negative way, like you said, and even here treating us and trying to put fear in us and make us fear and obey you, versus treating us with love and letting us love you through the love and companion that we our ancestors was all about. And it's such a powerful thing, you know. And we are unfolding and praise the great God Allah with these teachers being on these calls every night and getting these teachings. We're stopping that European mindset. You stopping the European from thinking inside of our minds. You stopping the European from thinking in our minds. And like you said, this is such a powerful class, God, man. It's so much that we can say, but I will stop there. But this is a powerful class, and gratitude for giving us these teachings of dealing with the holy instruction from our prophet, dealing with the master and the servant, because like I say, a lot of time we get the wrong idea when we hear master and servant. It's not talking about slavery. And of course, they did teach slavery from the Bible during that time. They taught slavery from the Bible. But we know here that this is a divine movement of the great God Allah, and this is a holy movement. And we don't have no mistreating people or slavery or servants, mistreating them in that way, because we honor the five highest principles in this land. So gratitude, God, man, for letting me share. Wonderful class. And that's my measure. Islam.
Gratitude, Sister Curta Bay. We give honors to you for that special drawing. Very powerful. Want to give honors to our family. Look like it says Vicarious World checking in. Honors to you as well, family. Peace and unity. When we understand, like you said, the statements master and servant, and we see that there's a unity between the two, because one who is a master had to be a servant at one time, and one who is a servant must become a master at some time, in their lives, so to speak. There's a process, like the brother Myers Bay talked about, like a harbinger process, so to speak, that take place, So in our preparation, we learn to be servants, and then by the time we become one who is able to be a master teacher, a mastermind, so to speak, we have come into a state of fruition and fulfillment. And so now we have the knowledge of knowing where we come from, being of service, and we are able to better serve our people now, because we know what it is that we had to come through and also what they may be going through, and that's what makes a true leader, as opposed to someone that is there to become, as Franz Fanon said in The Wretched of the Earth, basically the new slave master, what we call neo-colonialists, So Islam, honors to you for that, goddess and queen. All right. Is there any other more who would like to come forth and give their drawing?
Islam.
Islamism without the schism, beloved brother Miller Bay. What have you to say, grand man?
Islam, Sister Grand Sheikh. Islam. First I rise and give praises to Allah. Honors to Noble Joe Ali. Honors to this our Moorish American government. Honors to our Moorish flag, our grand national seal and emblem. Honors to Act 1 and everything Moorish. Honors to this grand Moorish perspective class. And honors to you, Dr. Shahid Amenti Amuhejus Sepsuel, for a grand Moorish perspective. Honors to all the Moors that spoke before me and all who will speak after. As the ayat 6 says, and thou who art a master, be just to thy servant. If thou expected from him fidelity and reasonable in thy command, if thou expected ready obedience. My take is this, the higher self is the master within, of course. So I must be just to myself first and foremost, based on behaving accordingly to what is moral and upright, demonstrating faithfulness to salvation, our God, and unity, by continuing loyalty
studious. So be studious of his interests, be diligent in his affairs, be faithful to the trust which he reposes in thee. So I'll continue to stay studious in his interests, be diligent in his affairs, and faithful to his trust which he laid in me, the servant, who is the master by divine right. In love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That I say Islam and peace and gratitude.
Islam and peace and gratitude to you as well, Grand Man, Consul General. We give honors to you for all that you do and all that you will do. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Islam. Next more.
Islam.
Angels.
Okay, we
Go
got
ahead,
Brother
Angel.
Muhammad Bey, and then we'll get you, brother. Sound like Brother Sincere Bey. Yeah, Islam.
I'll take my legs out of here.
Islam, Brother Jared Hamid Muhammad Bey.
Islam and gratitude, National Assistant Grand Chief, for that honor. We love you. Islam, yes, I'm Dr. Gerald Hamid Muhammad Bey of the South Carolina Consulate. First, let me rise in praise of our Father God Allah, who is the best known and range of all things, to give the highest honors to his holy prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who is the last prophet of this new era of time now. I give honors to our Moorish American government, our Moorish American nation, and absolutely everything Moorish. Islam, I give honors to you, National Assistant Grand Chief, for this grand class, and give honors to all of our Moorish kin and everything Moorish. In view of the time, just straight to the point, it was something that you had said, of course, you always cover a lot of ground, Grand Man. The misunderstanding, especially for the melanated man and woman here in North America. Anytime, that we hear that word master, it takes us back to, a memory of a slave word. But like you said, Grand Man, nothing could be further than the truth. By being a tradesman, anybody that's in a tradesman or have your own business, another title for that word master is also boss. So it's the same thing, when it's saying to, the leader, another name for the master, because you'll always have one that will lead and you always have those that follow the lead. So those are the servants. See, so it's giving the instructions that, like you said, once a person or individual or a group of people or nation like this Moorish American nation, when you get to the position, right, where you are the leader or the so-called master, right, of events, be kind, be considerate, have compassion and balance, right, on the so-called servants. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to end with this. This is what it really reminded me of, Grand Man. And I know it's broader than this, but this is what came to my mind. I remember right in the sayings of our beloved prophet, praise be to Allah for sending him. The prophet told us, the Moorish Americans, and specifically a directive to us in this Moorish American government and nation. He said, Moors, when you get on top, be kind to the Europeans. Wow. See, that's the same thing that it's talking about here. See, because our principles are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So if we don't, right, be kind, if we don't act with justice, love, truth, peace, and freedom, then we are not being the image, the likeness of our beloved prophet. And our beloved prophet said, imitate I. Show love so that you can be loved as I was loved. That's what the prophet said. And that's the ultimate kindness that anyone can show. Islam and gratitude, Grand Man. This is a grand class. Thanks for letting me share.
Islam and gratitude, and That's indeed a grand drawing. You know, the prophet did say that. You know, and on a high level, we got to treat each other nice first and foremost. You know, and once we're able to demonstrate that, because our people ain't got no problem with treating the European nice, they do that all the time. You know, and we give honors to the drawing, but they have a problem when it comes to treating each other nice. You know, so that's something to think upon. We give honors to you for the love thought. Islam, brother. All right, brother Sincere Bay, what have you to say?
All I can say is the Holy Breath is good, it is great, it was, it is, and evermore to be. Amen. Let me first give rise and give all praises to Allah and honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, El Hasharif Abdul Ali. Give honors to our Moorish American government, our officials, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and most especially our citizens. You know, when you talk about the master and the servant or the subject, this brings into mind, you know, that Allah is the master, and we are the servants. We are His vehicle here on the planet, things made manifest. And so when we rise our consciousness into infinite wisdom, we give praises to Allah, and we have to honor our prophet for bringing forth our map. And that's why I refer back to the Moorish American prayer, MAP, map. You know, Allah is the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You know, He is our protector. And so when he is the master, and we know that we are spirit, we are all spirit, you know, on the human manifestation. And so when we raise that into the divine constitution and bylaws, we find out that that's where the prophet brings forth that salvation, our God, unity. Because salvation, that's the ladder, you know, that stretches from the heart of man to the heart of Allah. You know, and that's where you'll find those three wrongs, which is belief, faith, and fruition. Belief being what man perhaps think it's truth. You know, faith being what he knows is truth, and then that final wrong of man being that truth. And so the master, and the servant then becomes the higher self and the lower self. Within the self, it says charity starts at home and then it's shed abroad. You know, we are the perfected temple of the great God of the universe on the planet, things made manifest, that was made without physical tools. This is where you go into Solomon's temple. We are that 5-pointed open green star of our flag. And so our prophet then takes us on the journey, and then he brings forth where we are to sacrifice. If we're going to sacrifice, obedience is better than sacrifice. We find in that, because we have that in the 12-step ladder as well. But we find that if we're going to sacrifice, we have to sacrifice that fire of love and burn it on the hearts of the altars of the hearts of men. And so, you know, in that same breath, he teaches us also that what we do for man, we do for ourselves. You know, when you look in the face of Allah, you're looking at the face of your brother man and your sister woman. And so, that with that charity being shared abroad, we have to master our minds first. You see what I'm saying? And we have to subjugate that servant, you know, which is our temple, into the thoughts of infinite wisdom that is within us, and then that we establish the principle of action to see that the act ever according to it. And then once we master that, then when we go through the highways and the byways, then we can, when we looking at our brother man and our sister woman and they need assistance, we can put that hand out, because we know that the great God Allah and us are one. This is the resurrection. This is when the resurrection is manifested, because now we can be the love that Allah always wanted us to be to our brother man and sister woman. Because and I conclude with this: in the Asiatic covenant, you know, the last sentence, it said it is only through the love that we share to each other that Allah can continue to contribute to the support of our whole race. And so, this is what the prophet teaches us day by day, night by night. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. Gratitude for allowing me to speak. Peace.
And Islam, and gratitude for the measure, brother. Islam. Well, all right, at this time, what we're going to do, we're going to go to our officials. We ain't going to waste no time. Honors to our Moorish kin that came forth and spoke, and honors to those who sought for and listened, so to speak. And so at this time, we're going to call forth our beloved goddess and queen, Sister Alceta Moonel. Islam, you there, goddess?
Islam, more. I'm just getting in. My phone was going off.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to get home. Praise Allah. First, let me rise and give all praises to Allah and all honors to our Prophet Nabi Ali, honors to our Moorish American government, our officials of our government, and our citizens. Honors to our Act 1, our National Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Sharafat Amin Morel, our National Grand Chairman of Moorish America, Dr. Akhenaten Puerto Rico, Cambe, and our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shadu Ameti Amukeshi Sheftuel. Also honors to you, government, for opening our conference call according to law. Honors for, of course, bringing forth a grand Moorish perspective this season. Honors to all the gods and goddesses, godmen and goddesses that brought forth their grand demonstration on tonight's class, and those that came forth to listen, to learn who they are and why Allah is the Father of the universe. Godman, could you give me the subject matter for tonight's class, please?
Yeah, Islam is holy instruction from the Prophet, Master and Servant. We actually dealing with Ayat 6, and thou who art master, be just to thy servant, if thou expected from him fidelity and reasonable in thy commands, if thou expected ready obedience.
Islam. Gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude. And the brother just gave his demonstration. That was a grand demonstration. Dr. Sidsebe, that was grand. I couldn't have said it better myself. Islam. I'm glad I was able to hear it. Now, looking at the ayat that you brought forth as a subject matter, if thou expected obedience. Our prophet, when I think about that, I think about the prophet telling us, honor thy mother and thy father, and thy days shall be long upon the earth, and which God Allah, thy God Allah has given thee. And that coincide with that ayat, because if you honor thy mother and thy father, then you have no problem honoring Allah. You have no problem respecting your servant, and your servant will have no problem respecting you. And so, in looking at today's society, and the brother brought forth a important measure. Society only respects what? Those who possess things that they cannot have, because they're looking outside of themselves for that stamp of approval. Worshipping gods outside of self. My mother used to tell my brother, because he was into cars like unbelievable. And my mother made a statement one day. She said, you can't live in a car. You need to buy a house. And that's a perfect example of where man's mind can take them when they get caught up in gods outside of self. Because they worship their possession and don't realize that humanity is at stake when it comes to the way we treat each other on a grand scale. And so that's what the prophet said, we need to learn to love instead of hate. And going through that 3-step ladder that the brother demonstrated brings us to that point of understanding who we are that ladder that leads from the heart of man to the heart of Allah. The Asiatic covenant that he brought forth. That Allah could only continue his love in that love that we show to each other. Because amongst our own people, Asiatics, there's so much hate. And it's not because some of them want to, they don't know any better. Because it's ingrained in them, the competition, I got mine, you got yours, and all these different degrees that they don't understand is hatred. And they don't know how to love themselves, so they take it out on each other. They have low self-esteem, all these different things that attribute to the condition of the mind. And so that's what the prophet teaches. We must love. We must learn to love. We must study self. We must study self. And if you well have studied self and would ask me again what to study, I'll say yourself. The prophet keeps telling us this over and over in these lessons because he understands where our mindset is at. He understands the Maya, the Mafa that our people have been through. And he knows we're going to have to continue to study ourselves even on to when we could reach 100 years old. You're still on this journey because you're still living. You still have to continually study self and unfold into God. We continually, you say you're God today, tomorrow is not God. So that tells us we're continually unfolding in character, in God, being gods and goddesses. So I know this was a grand class mode. Gratitude for calling forth. Peace and love to all my Moorish kin. Islamism.
And Islamism, sister, we give honors to you for that drawing. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. All right. Well, let us call forth our beloved Consul General. Not Consul General, but Grand Mufti. He is the Consul General of his state. But yeah, our Grand Mufti, Dr. Khonshu Ma'at Herube. Islamism, Grand Man. Are you there?
Islam.
Islamism. You got the flow, Grand Man. Honors to the tribe.
Gratitude, honors to you, your tribe, and everything that you do, Muslim. It's grand class. We rise first and foremost, giving our thanksgiving, adoration, and worship and praise to the only one worthy of those things, the great God of the universe, our Father God, Allah, the most beneficent and the most wise. We give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in these days and in these times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the savior of humanity. We give honor to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honors to his government, our government, the Moorish American government, the government in which we live. According to Act 6, we give honors to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers, Swift angels, Mufti, Royal Council, our secretaries. We give honor to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honor to our flag, our divine constitution and bylaws, our Holy Quran, our Grand National Seal and our Grand National Emblem, our Book of Fire, the Exhument of a Nation. We give honor to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honor to you, National Sister Grand Sheik, Dr. Shadu Amiti Church of El, for bringing forth this grand Moorish perspective this evening. We give honor to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us and to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honors to you, angels. We just continue to give the honors where they're due and honor all true and divine prophets. And yes, we give honors to our ancestors as they have come before us, leading the way, and we are them today without doubt or contradiction. Because no one has the power to change man from his descent nature. And it's, praise Allah, it's been a grand class coming from my holy instructions from the prophet on master and servant. And thou who art a master, be just to thy servant if thou expected from him fidelity and reasonable in thy commands, if thou expected ready obedience. And I think that is so key for us to understand that,
even when we're in certain positions, we got to make sure that we are being just, that we are, making sure we're demonstrating from our crown jewel of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and equality, along with the food, clothing, and shelter. Equality is important for us to recognize that, no one wants to be treated badly. Nobody wants to be looked down upon, and no matter what the job is, what the task is, whether it be minor or major, everybody wants to be honored and respected and also acknowledged for the job that they're doing that completes the whole. It's the same way with I look at it as the trash man. The trash man, he might not get all the praise, he might not get all the accolades, but he is so key to our everyday life. But it doesn't get the respect because one might look at it as a job that they don't want to do or it's an inferior job, but it's very important. It has a lot to do with the sanity of the community. Also, what they call area beautification and these things is very important. And so, one's got to treat them with respect and honor the job that they do. Even though you don't want to do it, you got to respect them for doing that job. Because that's how, they're vital. Let that trash stack up for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you'll be ready to get them raises. You'll be calling them, coming like, what's up with the trash man? I'll be all right. I need to come pick this trash up. And that's, that just shows how key the roles are. The trash man ain't necessarily rich. He ain't super wealthy. But his job is super important. His job is super necessary for the livelihood of the community. And so one should be, not only treated with respect, if you expect the fidelity of one to come to work and do this job that nobody wants to do, but also that you, deal with them in the sense of, they can only do so much. Just because you decide that this is a spending holiday or something like that, and now the trash, like around what they call Christmas time, it's trash everywhere. Everybody got boxes everywhere. They want the trash man to come in on his day off, even though y'all got it there, and clean up your mess. Do extra because it's extra trash, and that's not good. That's not correct in the drawing. One has to be has to take into consideration that this is a job nobody wants to do, and that they also need their time off from what may be a negative thought pattern situation. And I look at and parlaying that example into why it's so important for us as a nation. It's because just like in that example, we got secretaries. We can't expect them to do it all by themselves or little numbers. We got to make sure that we got enough ones to pass around the job, and the job got to be respected, because it is very necessary to be able to greet our people when they come in and making sure that they feel at home when they call into our calls, and making sure that their issues is recorded and that someone gets back to them. And these things is key when we look at master and servant, when we look at the role of government and the citizens. It just plays out hand in hand, as it's been expressed this evening. And we have to continue to move from understanding that we can't be like these Europeans where they got ones who is in some kind of office, some kind of seat of authority, and they're able to parlay not only their business in with the government. They have these ulterior motives, or what they call their positions. And we have to, as a nation of people moving into autonomy, remember that, we are all to help everybody have a great experience in our nation. It's kind of like that example of the parable about the tribe who was cursed with these long spoons. And every time that they try to feed themselves, the spoon will grow. And then they finally figured out that if they took the time out to feed each other, that they were able to overcome the curse and still be able to thrive. And that's the same way that we have to approach, our blessings and our way of life is that, part of what we have may seem a curse to others, but we can parlay our what seems to be a struggle into something that's a blessing and helps us thrive and helps us sustain ourselves and our unity together, because it forces us to be more humane. It forces us to show more love to each other and consider each other before we consider ourselves. And so while others is being individualistic and finding no support in that, and then of course losing out in the end, we will win by the unity that we have, how we take care of each other, and how we continue to sustain our nation in the thought patterns that that's my brother, that's my sister, and I want for them as I would want for myself. And that as long as we do that, all can be well. And the master and the servant, those titles no longer take on a negative demeaning, but one just that's a part of understanding that it's a part of the whole. Each part has its name, but each part is very important in making the whole demonstration run. So gratitude for the class this evening. Gratitude to you, Moorish America, for being here with us, giving us your time, attention, and respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
And Islam and peace, Brother Mufti, for that draw and gratitude. It's a powerful drawing you brought on the manifest, and I couldn't help but think about, like we say, no living man is an island unto himself, and every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. That's what I think about when I think about this master-servant degree. Like you said, we all have to work with each other. Everybody putting in work all over the place, so to speak, whether we know each other or not. So don't get no more powerful than that. Islam. Well, all right. Let us call forth our Grand National Secretary of the State, Sister Shepsut Rakat Ma'at and Pooh, Tutankhamun Bay. Islam, you there, Goddess and Queen?
Once is a thought, grand class, gratitude.
Islam.
Islam, Moorish Ken. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet Noble Dua Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, Swift angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish Ken. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving a special honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shadow Amenti Elmahedid Shepsuel, for opening our meeting according to law, also for hosting a Grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. 2, giving honor to our National Grand Secretary, State of Indiana, Dr. Sayanati Nuhetaru L, for taking registration and reading our subject chapter for the week. It's been a grand class. Much gratitude to our family online, also our Moorish kin, also to Act 1. Our subject matter coming from Ayat 6 of our chapter, and thou who art a master, be just to thy servant if thou expectest from him fidelity, and reasonable in thy commands if thou expectest ready obedience. And giving honor to my Moorish kin and brought forth their measures. When you brought forth the master words of humility and approachability, I was also reflecting on accountability as well. We are responsible for these treasures that Allah has given to us through our Holy Prophet Noble Dura Ali. And when we look at it from the level of divinity or the universal order of things, in essence, there are going to be times where you demonstrate from the level of a servant, being a servant to humanity. However, you can aid and assist your people, so be it, and you do that with love divine. Also, there are going to be situations in which you have to demonstrate your level of self-mastery, and when we see these things combined within ourselves, we give honor to that a special degree, because in essence, we are reflections of our Creator, our great God Allah. I also look at it dealing with social duties, reciprocal helps, and mutual obligations, so you don't get hung up in the station. We see sometimes people falling by the wayside because of power tripping. The station is the end all be all, and that in essence has become a god outside of itself. So we have to study these foes and deal with ego and vanity to make sure that we're not falling in that particular pitfall or trap. When we look at gratitude for bringing forth the word mirror, it is always good to be able to see that this is part of our civilization. And no matter how ancient the word, we don't demonstrate a dead language. We're a living people, and our language is living as well. So this is just a grand measure to see that no matter how our civilization was tried to be buried, you cannot banish the truth. I don't care what one does. And we have to be able to see the harmony in the stations of master and servant, because we occupy both, coming from a level of divinity. So when you treat others as you want to be treated, that's coming from the level of love divine. And, it's just a blessing and an honor to be here in our Moorish American government, to see our nation unfold, to see us passing down these keys in reference to dealing with purity, which is dealing with cleansing the mindset, paving the way for love. So all of it is about cycle ages, and every cycle age, we are ascending further and further into unfolding into our God state. So gratitude more for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Islam.
Islam, gratitude. We give honors to you, goddess and queen, for that drawing. Yep. And boy, when we moving at light speed. So every time we go from cover to cover, oh yeah, we having paradigm shifts. Islamism without the schism. But since we're close to him, we might as well call forth our Grand National Chairman, Dr. Acting Pert M. Heru, to come and bay. Now we know he know about that master and that servant degree. Islam. You there, grand man?
You rang?
Islam.
Islam is without a schism. You praise to Allah and our Prophet Noble Ali. Said much honor to Noble Ali for bringing us everything that we needed in order for us to save ourselves as a nation. On government, on divine constitution, on flags, principles, standards, Grand National Seal and emblem. Man, we are just so blessed, more. And it makes it a joy just to know all the officials at this time. And the reason why, because we're the one that have to carry. Well, I can't call it a load because it's part of your nature. It's part of your divinity. If you wasn't a part and parcel of Allah, then you wouldn't have it. If you was not divine, then you wouldn't have it. You wouldn't be carrying it. And if it wasn't part of your holiness, your sacredness, then it would not be there as a part of your nature. It's just a wonderful thing, more just to realize, knowing the answer to the master question, who made you? That's the master question for the order of the day. So more, we love you and thank you so much for being a part and partial. Because now you're the one that helped me answer the question, who made you? Islamism without a schism.
Islamism without the schism. That's right. You know, who made us, and it came through us learning how to definitely be a servant of humanity. We give honors to you, Chairman, and we give honors to your service that you offer to humanity, to give us the ability to offer our service to humanity as well, so that we all may be a master nation. Islamism without the schism. That's that lesson you put out there, Chairman. We give honors to you for it. Islam. But at this time, we're speaking of the lesson and the blessing and the master, the serve, and everything else that, oh man, let us call forth our national grand sheik, Dr. Serapis Amin Rael. Islam, you there, Sheik?
Islam, Islam, Islam.
Oh no.
Ooh-wee.
Islam.
This is, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we hear
Man.
you clear, loud and clear with divine ear. The clouds can't even block that one.
Man, I'm telling you, this demonstration here has been fire letter. We give a lot of praise for giving us the ability and the will to listen to this mass presentation. Gives us that ability to discern truth from falsehood and to give us the lesson about what a master is and what a servant is, and how there's a distinction between the two, and how to even go through the course of being a servant. You come through this life serving ones, and we may not like what we're doing, but it's preparing us for something greater, even though we don't look at our present station as being the premise of everything that is coming afterwards, but Allah prepares us and shapes us for that which we know not. We as far as titles is concerned, it's about how one carries itself and how one wants to be that which he sees, and not so much being in the context of a word, but the word is you. Say, you know, the servant, the master. You have to master yourself before you master anything else. Everything in this life is structured towards man know thyself and your Father God Allah, that you may learn to love, that you may learn to love, that you may learn to love, that you may learn to love instead of hate. See, and that's the key that opens up heaven's gate. When we see our Father, our brothers and sisters, we all bear the same lesson. Be the blessings of Allah sent from above. Be the blessings of Allah sent from above. We add these things to open up the windows in the workshop of our mind, and where we build up character, and we walk through this life, picking up the weight and the things that our brothers and sisters that came before us had laid down, and we follow that structure to build our mass kingdom, or to continue building the kingdom that we had started out, or that our fathers and forefathers had started out on, and we pick up the rest of it. So what not a word is lost. This is why they call us having more sense, having more aspects of humbleness, being the more adapt to moving the corner of one's mind, carry one's love along the way. This is what the L and the Bay be about as far as the master and servant is concerned. Carry one on, because it's about words. It's about the word is the primary structure of our being, master and our servant. You can't be a master until you have served. You have to be put through the what do you call it? First grade, so to speak. You know, we have to be went through that, and then walk through you're gonna meet your foe. And at every turn of the matter, you got to overcome that. You master holding that one down. You talking about the Lord's self. Now this is why the one demonstrates what should I study? Study yourself. What should I study then? Study yourself. One that studies himself becomes to find out they know this. The knowledge of self is the knowledge of self in relation to your Father God alive. Grand man, this has been a grand presentation always. Thank you for giving our minds the juice of continued love and fidelity. May Allah continue to bless, embrace, and guide you along the way. You and your tribe, praise the Lord, to our sister Grand C. January 15, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read in all meetings. Everybody inform all citizens who must end all radical, agitating speeches while they work on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop passing your cards to Europeans and cause confusion. Remember your cards for your salvation. Faith to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice will take its course. And a citizen or group of citizens who hold with disfavor towards the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet. They lose confidence in their prophet and shit turning their garden button. These winter church affairs return to the state where the prophet found you. This is a holy divine movement founded by the prophet to the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By all the prophet number 2 Ali. This divine warning is supreme laws now and will be enforced by the said government hereby. Islam, Islam, Islam. The young children of one father provided for God's care, and the breast of one mother has given you son. The bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when you separate in the world, remember the relation that binds you to love and unity, and to burn down the stranger for their own blood. If thy brother's anniversary is sister, if our sister's in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of our Father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting fixed close according to Act 2 of our divine Constitution, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, Moors. Much love to you. Long live Moors America. Islam.
Peace, love, and law from New York City.
Islam.
Great class, National Sister. Great class. Don't forget to pay your dues.
Islam, Moors, we love you, Moors. We must gratitude for that measure. We must foster our ability to serve.
Moors,
Islam.
all the Moors.
Peace and love, Moors. Peace and
We
love.
love you. Peace and love. Great class,
Islam.
National Sister. Grand Sheikh, we love you.
Gratitude. Master your ability to serve, Moors. Master your ability to serve. Islam.
Don't get to pay them dues, no.
Peace and love. Gratitude. Well, all right, family. Want to give honors to everybody that checked in, out there in social media. Again, all of our family, keep tuning in. We're going to keep bringing these measures on the manifest because when we deal with this Moorish perspectives, what we're dealing with is basically going into things that deal with instructing our people to make themselves better. Whatever it is that we demonstrate, we don't come from a judgmental standpoint to point the fingers. We're talking about self-mastery, and how it is that we can master ourselves. And that's the difference between the way we teach, in the Moorish paradigm and the way you may hear other people teach, that come from the strict religious paradigm, so to speak. We look at our lessons as lessons of self-mastery, and when we refer to the great God Allah, we refer to the great God Allah within. When we refer to the greatness of these prophets and masterminds who came throughout the climb of time, we refer to the greatness of their character and their attributes and how we can live, in this particular way that was described to us, because we don't have a Muhammad or a Jesus or a Buddha, here amongst us. We don't even have Prophet Noble Drew Ali physically amongst us. All we have is the teachings that come from the paradigm, so that's what we are here to do, to conform ourselves, not force one to submit, but again, become masters of serving, masters of service, and this is what it truly means to be a master and a servant. So that being said, family, it's been real, it's been love. Stay in tune. We're going to keep bringing these measures on the manifest, and may you all be blessed and love. Unqua Jessanel, life, health, and prosperity be upon you all. Shimotepu, the peace of the ancestors I grant to you.